They look majestic, powerful, almost mythical. But don't be fooled. Not every horse is a gentle giant. Some are built for war, others for survival, and a few, they'll break bones before you even blink. Today, we're diving into the world of the most fierce and formidable horse breeds on Earth. These aren't the polished show ponies at weekend parades. These are the raw, instinct-driven legends, creatures sculpted by time, terrain, and the tension between man and nature. Which horse glows like liquid gold under the desert sun? Which one can shatter a fence with a single kick, then vanish into the wild? And which breed once carried warriors across battlefields, charging into storms of arrows, fearless, untamed? Stick around, because by the end of this journey, you might never look at a horse the same way again. Let's explore with Animal Prime. Akhal-Teke, the golden ghost. With a coat that glistens like sunlit metal, the Akhal-Teke doesn't just shimmer, it haunts. This ancient breed from Turkmenistan has earned a mythical reputation as the horse that sweats gold. Under harsh desert heat, their skin reflects light in a way that seems almost supernatural. But don't let their beauty fool you. These horses are notoriously difficult to tame. Lean, long-limbed, and fiercely independent. They were bred not just to endure the blazing sands of Central Asia, but to outrun raiders, scale hillsides, and vanish into nothingness. Standing around 15.2 hands high and weighing up to 1,000 pounds, they're not massive, but their strength lies in endurance. Some have traveled more than 2,500 miles across unrelenting terrain, barely pausing to rest. They form strong bonds with their rider, but challenge strangers with a silent defiance. Today, they remain national treasures of Turkmenistan, often appearing in royal ceremonies and Olympic-level equestrian sports. But deep inside, the Akhal-Teke still carries a desert spirit, shimmering, untouchable, and never truly tamed. Arabian horse, the eternal flame. If horses had dynasties, the Arabian would be royalty. Tracing back over 4,000 years, they're believed to be the foundation of nearly every modern light horse breed. But what truly sets them apart is their fire. Compact and muscular, with wide nostrils and a dished face built for desert breathing. Arabians were bred for one purpose: survival. Nomadic Bedouins raised them not just as transport, but as family. These horses slept inside tents, they carried warriors across endless sand dunes, turning on a dime during ambushes. And when cornered, Arabians don't shy. They strike. With an average height of 14-15 hands and powerful hindquarters, an Arabian's rear kick is no accident. It's a last resort, delivered with grace and precision. There's a reason they earned the trust of tribes, but also demanded it in return. Today, they dazzle in dressage rings and endurance races worldwide. But their spirit? It remains desert-born, alert, proud, and impossible to break. Mustang, the untamed icon roaming the open plains of the American West, Mustangs aren't just horses, they're history on hooves. Born of escaped Spanish stock, these wild herds adapted to mountains, deserts, and wind-blown valleys with one rule: survive at all costs. Their lean builds and hard hooves allow them to travel for days without shelter. Their senses are razor-sharp, but their hierarchy is brutal. Stallions often fight for dominance, biting, chasing, and yes, kicking with terrifying force. Mustangs average 14-15 hands high, deceptively small, but incredibly tough. They're protected under US law, but still face threats from shrinking habitats and roundups. Yet even when captured, many remain wild at heart, rejecting saddles, breaking fences, or staring down their handlers with silent rebellion. In them, America's last true wild spirit still runs. Friesian, the warhorse in silk pitch black, feather-footed, towering. The Friesian horse looks like it galloped out of a medieval legend, and for good reason. Once used by knights in full armor, this Dutch breed combined elegance and force like no other. Standing between 15 and 17 hands, their arched necks, flowing manes, and long tails make them living sculptures. But beneath the beauty lies raw muscle and a deep-rooted war instinct. Friesians are calm by nature, but when threatened, they react with powerful strikes. One misplaced step near a Friesian's hindquarters has led to fractured ribs and broken barriers. Their sheer weight and momentum mean that even a warning kick can turn dangerous in seconds. These horses are showstoppers in fantasy films, parades, and dressage, but their soul remains tied to battles long past. They're graceful until they're not. Shire horse, the tower of muscle. The largest horse breed in the world, the Shire is a walking fortress, weighing up to 2,400 pounds and towering over 17 hands. It's hard to imagine such a giant being agile, but the Shire's power lies not just in size, but in precision. Originally bred to pull heavy loads like carts of ale and wartime cannons, the Shire had to be reliable. But even the calmest of giants can be provoked. Despite their gentle reputation, Shires operate on instincts honed over centuries. Their field of vision leaves blind spots directly behind them, a vulnerable zone that, if invaded, triggers reflexive kicks strong enough to dent steel. Today they grace ceremonial events and gentle farm fields, often mistaken for docile beasts. But make no mistake, respect earns peace. Overstep, and the tower of muscle reminds you why it's feared. Clydesdale, the gentle giant with firepower. They're often seen prancing through holiday commercials, shiny coats, white feathers, hooves like polished anvils. But behind the glamour, the Clydesdale is still a draft horse bred for battle-grade work. And when provoked, it reminds us exactly why it once pulled heavy artillery through war zones. Weighing up to 2,100 pounds and standing over 18 hands tall, the Clydesdale moves with deceptive grace. But size doesn't dull reflex. If startled, this gentle giant becomes a powerhouse of raw reaction. A single back kick from a Clydesdale has been known to dent steel gates, and in one recorded moment, to send a full wheelbarrow flying through the air. Originally from Scotland, they were bred to haul beer barrels and plows across dense farmlands. But today, they parade across football stadiums, weddings, and national events. Despite their fame, one truth remains. Never confuse gentleness with weakness. Not when the quietest horse in the field can kick like a wrecking ball. Marwari, the sacred guardian. With inward curving ears that almost touch at the tips, the Marwari looks like something out of folklore. And in India, it practically is. Bred by Rajput warriors, these horses weren't just mounts. They were spiritual protectors, believed to sense death before it arrived. Their reactions were fast, intelligent, and loyal, unless you were a threat. Compact, agile, and strikingly alert, Marwaris are renowned for their unpredictable energy. They stand about 15 hands tall, but move with the finesse of a panther. Soldiers once relied on them to pivot mid-charge and dodge spears in battle. And when cornered, they don't back down. Modern trainers note how quickly a Marwari will deliver a spinning kick or lash out at unwanted contact. Unlike some breeds that kick only when cornered, the Marwari is preemptive. It senses tension and reacts before it explodes. Though protected in parts of India, they're slowly gaining international recognition. Regal, loyal, and fierce, they don't follow. They choose who to trust. And if you're not chosen, step back. Camargue, the white phantom. Deep in the wetlands of southern France, herds of white horses race through shallow waters, manes flying like sea foam. These are the Camargue horses, living phantoms of the marsh, born wild and still untamed. Their gray coats turn ghostly white with age, creating one of nature's most cinematic transitions. Stocky but swift, they're built for stamina over speed. Camargues are semi-feral, roaming free with guardians called guardians, France's version of cowboys. Though small in stature, averaging 13 to 14 hands, they're highly reactive. Generations of open-range survival have bred in them a sharp flight instinct, but also powerful rear defenses. When threatened by predators or humans, they don't hesitate to kick, sometimes mid-sprint, delivering warning shots like white lightning. Today, they're still used for cattle herding, local festivals, and conservation grazing. But they remain one of the last truly wild horses in Western Europe, running not for show, but because they were born to. Andalusian, the flamenco fighter. If the Arabian is a flame, the Andalusian is a storm. Originating from the Iberian Peninsula, this horse carries the soul of Spain. Bold, graceful, and intense. Every step feels like a dance. Every flick of the mane, a challenge. Once the favored mount of Spanish conquistadors, the Andalusian was bred for strength and control. They held ground in the chaos of sword fights and broke enemy lines in cavalry charges. Even now, their performances in classical dressage echo those battlefield roots. Muscular and high-headed, Andalusians average around 15.2 hands. Their expressive eyes and elevated gaits captivate audiences, but make no mistake, they're fierce. When pressured or mistreated, they rear high and strike down fast. Kicks come clean, precise, delivered like punctuation marks. In arenas or ancient ruins, these horses still look like they're preparing for war, because somewhere inside, they are. Mangalarga Marchador, the relentless walker. Smooth isn't usually a term you associate with dangerous, but the Mangalarga Marchador of Brazil blends both. Famous for its unique gait, called the marcha, this horse can cover vast distances without tiring its rider. But don't let the rhythm fool you. Bred for versatility in mountainous terrain, Marchadors are athletic, responsive, and incredibly smart. They anticipate movements, and if they sense conflict or chaos, their response is fast. They don't just kick, they spin, pivot, and reposition with uncanny agility. Standing around 15 hands tall, their movements look choreographed, even wild. Riders say you don't train a Marchador, you partner with one. Try to dominate it, and you'll end up dodging hooves. Today, they serve in endurance riding, cattle work, and even therapy. But at their core, these horses march not just with grace, but with unshakable purpose. American Quarter Horse. The rocket sprinter fastest from a standstill to 55 km/h. The quarter horse is a muscle car disguised as a stallion. Built for sprints, rodeos, and sheer explosive power, it's the go-to mount for riders who need speed and agility in one tight, unpredictable package. With broad chests, heavy hindquarters, and laser reflexes, quarter horses dominate barrel racing and cattle cutting. But ask any cowboy, they're also the most likely to buck, spin, or kick in an instant if pushed too hard, especially during high-stress rodeos or misjudged dismounts. Standing 14.3 to 16 hands high, their compact form is like a spring wound tight. When released, it's raw force. But with trust, they become dance partners in dirt arenas, reading your body before you speak. They're American icons, bold, brawny, and built for action. But make no mistake, behind every winning lap is a creature that reacts faster than you can blink. Konik, the primal shadow. In the forests of Eastern Europe, you'll find shadows that move like ghosts, low to the ground, broad-backed, with thick manes and ancient eyes. These are Konik horses, descendants of the now-extinct tarpon, one of the last truly wild horses to roam prehistoric Europe. The Konik's body is compact, sturdy, and built for survival. They average about 13 hands high, but don't let size deceive you. Their hooves are dense, adapted to wetlands and snow. Their instincts, razor sharp. In rewilding projects across Poland and the Netherlands, Koniks have reintroduced balance to overgrown lands, clearing brush, restoring biodiversity. But they are not pets. Try to corner one, and you'll find yourself dodging a lightning-quick hind leg strike. These horses have been known to kick tree trunks in territorial disputes, their reflexes still wired to ancient threats. Percheron, the silent force. If strength had a silhouette, it would look like the Percheron. Originating from France, this draft horse combines power with poise, bred to carry knights into battle and haul timber through deep woods. But when still, they radiate calm, an intimidating, watchful calm. Percherons can weigh up to 2,600 pounds and stand 19 hands tall. Yet they move with the grace of dancers in slow motion. Their intelligence is high, their loyalty unmatched. But like any warrior, they have limits. Handlers speak of Percherons that stood motionless for hours, until provoked. Then came the pivot, the kick, the sudden force that knocked over gates and sent handlers scrambling. Today, they shine in parades and forestry competitions. But their legacy whispers louder. They are strength hidden in stillness. Icelandic horse, the small storm. On frozen volcanic plains, where wind cuts sharper than knives, the Icelandic horse survives not through size but grit. Stocky, with double-layered coats and lion-like manes, these horses look small, usually 13 to 14 hands, but their power lies in terrain mastery. With two special gaits, the tolt and the flying pace, they glide over snow and lava fields, never breaking rhythm, and while friendly by nature, they are fiercely territorial. In the wild, fights between stallions often break into flurries of hooves and headbutts. Iceland forbids the importation of any horse, and once an Icelandic leaves, it can never return. The goal is purity, a storm frozen in time, one that still kicks back when challenged. Gypsy Vanner, the fairytale muscle-feathered hooves, flowing manes, a frame like a carriage of muscle draped in silk. The Gypsy Vanner looks like it belongs in a children's storybook, but it's stronger than it seems. Bred by Irish travelers to pull colorful wagons over vast countryside, this horse needed more than beauty. It needed resilience, and it has it. Vanners are incredibly strong for their size, averaging 14-15 hands with thick necks and backs built for constant work. Though known for their gentle temperament, when startled or pressed, they can react with precision. Several clips show Vanners spooking and kicking carriages or fencing mid-spin, not with malice but instinct. They're now favorites in show rings and therapy barns alike. But under those gentle eyes lies a quiet toughness, a reminder that fairy tales aren't always soft. Kiger Mustang, the desert survivor. In the rugged high deserts of Oregon, a special breed of Mustang survives, leaner, swifter, and more instinctive than most. Kiger Mustangs are among the closest living relatives to Spanish horses brought to North America centuries ago. They move like poetry and kick like lightning. Slightly smaller than their Western cousins, Kigers average 14.2 hands, with dun coats that blend into sand and sagebrush. They're incredibly agile, pivoting in tight spaces, escaping predators with blur speed spins and back kicks. Few horses embody wild like the Kiger. They aren't just fierce, they're elusive, like spirits of the desert wind, seen one moment and gone the next. Przewalski's horse, the living relic. The last truly wild horse on Earth doesn't live in barns. It lives behind fences of protection or across Mongolia's vast steppes. Przewalski's horse, short, thick, scruffy, isn't built to impress, but it will outlast most domestic breeds in the wild. With stocky bodies and short legs, they stand only 12-14 hands high. But their survival instinct is unmatched. They kick hard, run fast, and fight ferociously when challenged. Conservationists warn, approach with distance. These aren't re-wilded horses. They were never tamed to begin with. These horses escaped extinction. Now they roam again, scarred, free, and gloriously untouchable. Falabella, the mini warrior. At first glance, the Falabella is adorable. Standing under 3 feet tall, it's the smallest horse breed in the world. But small doesn't mean safe. Falabellas may be tiny, but they're spirited, smart, and surprisingly defiant. Trainers recount moments where these miniature horses kicked open gates, head-butted larger animals, and refused halters for hours. They're not show ponies. They're proof that fire doesn't need fuel. It just needs a spark. The warrior's will, compressed into a fairy tale size. Wild is not a size. It's a spirit. From mist-shrouded marshlands to high deserts and frozen volcanoes, we've met horses that don't just run, they survive. Some were bred to carry kings, others never bowed to humans at all. But every single one carries within them a piece of the wild. Raw, beautiful, unpredictable. And perhaps that's what draws us to them. Not just the power, not just the beauty, but the reminder that even the most majestic creatures on Earth still have a choice. To trust or to kick, to follow or to run free. Which horse surprised you the most? If you could ride just one of these fierce legends, would you choose power, beauty, or pure wildness? Let us know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the fiercest horses on Earth, there's more where that came from. Tap subscribe and join us as we explore more animals that defy expectation, one untamed story at a time. Or check out our next video on the most dangerous kicks ever recorded in nature. This is Animal Prime, where legends breathe and nature never whispers.